Hello everyone. With me doing a little bit better, I have been working on my recordings and resuming playing computer games. I have not done any recordings as of late, not because of sickness, but because I've been playing XCOM 2. So I wanted to do a recording to talk about XCOM 2. I will do a video to talk about XCOM 2 tactics at a later time. So for now, let's get to my feedback. I've been with XCOM since I think the second game when that came out. I've gone as far as getting the Iron Man badge. If you look at my forum tag, you will see Iron Man on it. So I would like to think that I know XCOM well enough um, and I'm familiar with its changes. So with XCOM 2, I will say that I appreciate the class changes. I like the idea of the Ranger having the sword attack, and I do like the fact that the Rocket is more or less a whoever has a warsuit or exosuit. In the older XCOMs, a rocket was only available through your heavy weapons people, which would be the ones with the minigun. So that part's very interesting. Um, I do think that it got significantly nerfed though. In XCOM 2, the rocket at base does 4 to 7 damage. In the older XCOMs, it did a lot more than that. I think, if I remember right, the plasma rocket or whatever it was doing, I think it was like 12 damage. And I also remember that it was self-guided. In order to get my Iron Man badge on one of the older XCOMs, I did what was called the Master Blaster strategy. That's where I used 4 heavy weapons and 2 specialists. What I did was I used one of the specialists as a spotter. I would put ghost armor on that specialist. I would send them as far forward as possible and have my heavy weapons people wait. Whenever there was a target big enough for the rocket, I then launched it from as far away as possible. The Master Blaster strategy was quite abusive in terms of the items and other things in the game, but it did work. And at least it wasn't cheating or hacking. Regardless, that's why I think the rockets are cool, because they're only available through one person in the older XCOMs. I do like the hacking aspect to the game now. Specialists are able to hack robots and other things. This does make things a little bit easier when it comes to combat. It is possible now to shut down a mech and completely ignore it for about 2 turns. From there, you can just worry about the other things. The customization is also very interesting. I'm not so much into the actual soldier customization, but I do like the actual weapon customization. I do like that there is accessories to put on the weapons. I also like that there is ammo types now, and that these ammo types provide certain benefits. So, with the positives talked about, let's talk about the negatives. I would say my first negative is going to be what I consider, I guess, a bug or potential bug. The Vipers are able to do their tongue ability through walls and also through doors. Not only that, their range is ridiculous. I had a Viper attempt a tongue pull on one of my soldiers at 10 tiles away. I find this to can be completely unbalanced and completely bugged. There should be no way that a alien should be able to get one of my soldiers behind a wall. They have no visual of that person other than through squad sight. That does not make sense at all. There are other somewhat frustrating things with the game that I think could have been easily fixed before XCOM 2 was launched. Um, One of them would have been some sort of way to hack the Andromeda mechs. Even though its first stage is biomechanical, I think it should have been in some way hackable, at least to like turn off its circuits or something. Give it a debuff to make it not move as well. It does not make sense to me that you have to wait for its second stage just to hack it. If you can hack it on its second stage, you should be able to hack it on its first stage. Gatekeepers, that's the next enemy I need to talk about. I do find it completely annoying that gatekeepers can shut their shells immediately after you attack them. I think it should have been, if their shell is open, that they have to wait until the end of the turn to close it. I don't see it as fair as me popping one shot on it, getting a miss, and then it closes up the shell. I don't agree with that. The other one I could talk about is chrysalids. Chrysalids have always been a annoying enemy in the XCOM series. XCOM 2, I think they're the most annoying. At least in the older XCOMs, I would have some warning that there's a chrysalid nearby. In XCOM 2, there's no warning because they burrow now. So I would have appreciated if the game gave us some sort of warning. I'm not saying make it visible, but I am saying, like, show that the ground is disturbed or something. Because if the ground is disturbed, then I would be able to notice that there's a burrowed chrysalid. And at that point, then I could make the decision as to whether or not to use a scanning protocol. I only get 2 scanning protocols per specialist. So it would be nice to know or have some indicator as to when to use one of the 2 scanning protocols I have for that entire mission. The same applies to faceless. I think that there should have been some sort of indicator that it's going to be a faceless infiltrator. And if they weren't going to do that, then at least make faceless, shape-shifting a turn thing. I have been in situations numerous times now where a faceless, shape-shifted and then attacked my soldier immediately that turn. I don't see that as fair as well. How am I supposed to know which civilian to save and which one to not save? How am I supposed to know if I'm going to be running up to a faceless? Furthermore, it puts me in a situation because they attack me the second I unravel them. So I don't like that either. The next negative on my list is not related to enemies. While I said that I did appreciate the changes in weapons and rockets, I do not like the fact that ammunition types and accessories for the guns are considered random. What I mean is this. The ammo type things that you get, such as armor-piercing rounds, talon rounds, tracer rounds, venom rounds, dragonfire rounds, and all that, are something you have to research in the workshop. In the workshop, you'll see a thing called experimental ammo. You spend how many ever turns researching experimental ammo, and at that point you get one of those ammo types as a random reward for doing it. It takes an Elerium Core to do this. If I'm going to be spending an Elerium Core, then I would expect to be able to start building that normally after I research it. That's the way I feel about that. Same goes with the warsuit. I get that the warsuit is extremely powerful and there should be some sort of cap on it. That's fine. But don't put the cap on Elerium cores and random um, stuff at the workshop. If you really wanted to put a cap on warsuits, then put out a number there. Say you can only have 4 of these in a mission, or something like that. That'd be a lot more fair than having to spend Elerium cores like crazy at the workshop. The Elerium cores are very hard to come by and very useful for other things too. So it really puts a cap on what you can do in terms of research and building for your squad. So I would like to see the ammo types and the weapon accessories be part of the engineering bay. Once you figure out how to make them, then you should be able to make them. Hopefully there will be a mod to change that. The next dislike I have is related to mechanics. I have noticed this in at least 14 missions by now. I would drop into a mission and I'd be concealed and all that good stuff. I'd run around the side of the map thinking that, I could get behind the enemy. But for some reason, despite being concealed and well without visual on the enemy, for some reason they seem to just follow me. It's like I have no visual on them, and then all of a sudden they come out of nowhere just following me. And even if I do have vision on them, I'm usually 2 to 3 tiles away from their visual range, the little red square, and they still follow me. It's like I can run around all over the map, and they just magically know I'm there. This first became apparent when I was doing the dark event quest to find the gate or whatever. I was running across the right side of the map, and this group of chrysalids, despite being concealed and being out of their range, was just following me the entire way up to the gate. It eventually got to a point where they caught up to me, and they spotted me. I don't see this as fair as well. And you may be thinking, I'm saying there's a lot of things unfair. Well, there's good reason. XCOM is already a frustrating game as is, and it is very unforgiving. I can give one such example. There is the miss rate. One of my missions, I missed a 96, a 97, a 91, and a 93% back-to-back. That's how terrible the RNG is with XCOM. When you add that in with all these other frustrations you're throwing my way, it's just kind of like, where is the line? Where is the balance? You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm kind of seeing that as all unfair. Back to the warsuit though. The warsuit does have other ammunition types, I guess you can call it, or other weapons. But again, it's all random chance, just like the ammo types. So I would like to see that being added to the engineering thing. Because if I'm going to be dropping an ammo or weapon that's one-time use and I won't get it back after that mission, well then I would like to be able to resupply that. It should not be based on random chance, just like the ammo types. Another dislike I have is, I guess, really part of the game, but I also think that there should have been some balance to this. I get tired of doing VIP missions and finding Andromeda mechs, mutons, and other things just sitting right on top of the evac zone. It's just like, they shouldn't be allowed to sit there. I can understand if they're sitting, in the street below the evac zone, but sitting right on top of the evac zone is a different story. I've had that happen to me one too many times. So I would like to see that as kind of like a forbidden zone or something, I guess you can say. Make it so that enemies can't spawn there or can't sit there. Um, the next dislike I have is um, regarding mechanics yet again. There has been some sort of bug, I guess you can say, in which my sniper has, or I'm sorry, sharpshooter has taken shots that I'm very certain were not considered squad sight distance, but for some weird reason, when I did make the shot, it was considered squad sight. This happened in a mission in which I had to raid an advent train. My ranger was up on this rock, I want to say maybe 2 tiles in front of the sniper. Out of nowhere, an advent mech showed up. Like, I couldn't even see it, it just all of a sudden it came out from the train. My sniper was 2 tiles behind that, but for some reason, it was considered a squad side based shot. I'm very certain that was not something that would have been considered as such. Um, I've been talking for 16 minutes. I can keep going down the list of dislikes, um, but I will finish it by saying that XCOM 2 did make a lot of changes that I appreciate. However, I think that this game was perhaps rushed. I think there was a lot of minor things that could have been ironed out or at least balanced before the game was released. I think if they did that, then this game would have been a 100% perfect game. But as it stands, I consider this game to be more or less a 70 or 80%. And that's my thoughts on XCOM. Thanks for listening.